Our eyes that we may see, open our ears that we may hear, touch our hearts that we may love, clear our minds that we may think, strengthen our hands that we may work. Amen. Amen.
Thanks, Kevin. Good to see everybody. We got a jam-packed day here today. And Terry's got a buzz going on here.
Yeah, it's gonna be on my video.
Okay. No problem.
It's coming from the
We'll get some technical people here to.
It's gonna be over in just a minute.
Yeah,
Maybe it's the air conditioner.
That's fine. We've got a lot to cover today. First, we're going to start off with AJ here to talk to us about Character Plus at Greenwood. Right?
This is my job. Thank you again. Every year, thank you for all your support out of Greenwood Elementary School and all the schools for that matter, but especially at Greenwood because that's my home. And I'm going to show you this video. I think it speaks for itself to how awesome this mentoring is working for kids. So I'm going to show you the video. If you have any questions, come and find me after. I have brought some of my cards. If you're interested in doing it, contact me. So it'll be, if you decide to mentor at Greenwood, it will be twice a month, any day you choose. We just ask you to come and hit up each kid twice a month. So you'll have a 4th grader and a 5th grader. You'll eat lunch with a 4th grader around 11:50, 12 o'clock, and then you go back and get a 5th grader about 12:30. So it's about an hour or so, twice a month, eating lunch with them. It's really fun. If you haven't tried it, it's fun, and they love it, and it's making huge impact. So I'm going to show the video, because I'm not going to talk, because I'm not the person talking, but y'all know how much I love you. I don't need to talk more about that, because y'all know.
Thank you so much for another great year of Character Plus to our Rotary Club and community friends that volunteer. It's been an awesome one. And we just wanted to let you know that we appreciate you driving all the way out here to Greenwood to eat lunch with some special friends. We've really enjoyed it. And so the kids have some things that they would like to say to you. I hope you enjoy it.
I was raised Mr. Rotary, and he helped me become a better student by helping me in my past and my future. And helping me calm my attitude down.
What is your favorite thing about Mr. Robert coming to eat lunch with you?
That he is what my big sister wants to be when she grows up. He's a lawyer. And he's excited about what he does in the show. It's really fun.
Why does that mean a lot to you?
Because it's the first time I've done it ever, and it's really cool.
Do you think it's helped you in any way?
He's helped me figure out what job I want when I grow up.
What job do you want?
Police officer.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Mr. Ernie. Come in and have lunch with me. I'm playing games with me. I ate some of the food. And I liked it when we had played the math game with David and his lunch buddy. He helps me with stuff that is hard, and he's like a father to me, and I'm glad that he comes and eats with me because I don't have people to talk to as much really, and he's special to me because I like it so when he comes and helps me with stuff that's hard.
And who's your lunch buddy?
Mr. Ernie.
I watch Doug is Mr. Doug, and he helped me by answering questions more in class and helping me calm my anger when I'm mad. And
buddy is Mr. Dodge. I like him as my buddy because he plays games with me and he lets me see new pictures in iPhone and he helped me with in reading a book and I get stuck with tricky words he helps me. But Mr. Bowler, he's helpful by making me flashcards so I can study every day. I like him because he's nice and helpful.
Mr. Bowler, I've been my buddy for 3 years. I'm missing him in 6th grade. He was best and he always helped me with multiplication and math if I needed help. And he always asked me how I was doing and stuff, and he always helped me.
Mr. Bill because he tells me everything about me.
Is he fun?
He's fun because he tells me what is my favorite sport and soccer.
Do you like that he eats lunch with you? Is that nice?
Yeah, he's nice with me that he eats lunch with me.
My lunch buddy is Bill. He's helped me because he's taught me a lot of things to help with my attitude and from what I did. And he's here to help me with the attitude that I have and to help me become a better person.
I like Mr. Brandon coming to lunch with me and getting me out of my group so I won't get in trouble whenever they talk to me because whenever I get in trouble we have assigned seats, so he's helping me not get in trouble and he helped me talk about stuff that I get angry or not angry at all. So that's why I like him.
Fan is like my good father to me. He always helps me out and stuff when I need help on. He's a very special person.
So again, thank you so much for everything that you do, and I hope you come back out because if you had a 4th grader last year, they have already been asking me if you're coming back this year. So please don't make me tell them no. And we would love to have you out. Thank you guys.
Thank you. That right there shows you what an impact we have on these kids. And thank you all for participating, and the ones who don't, if you can, you have no idea what it will do to you. It's such a great feeling, and we do help out quite a bit.
David, do we do little girls? Do we need some women?
Yes, I do not put girls with men, so we have to have women in order to do girl mentoring.
So will we just contact you again?
Right, and I think Larry sent me a list, but I know the list last year, not everybody on it was able to do it, so I'm not assigning kids until I know for sure you're gonna do it, so contact me personally, and I'm gonna leave my card with the phone number and my email. Contact me personally, and I'll make sure you understand the commitment, and then we'll get on with it. But thank you so much. Yes, women are great.
Yeah, I just want to say, I really enjoyed last year, and it was really getting out of my comfort zone. I said, this is not going to be something I'm going to be good at, but you don't have to be good at it. The kids take over. The kids really are the ones that are, kind of leading you into it. And we have one of our volunteers that it's not Rotary, but another guy, and the kids took care of him. He's really not doing real great, but he's just showing up was making a huge impact. I noticed some of the kids did stuff. So I'd say if you're on the fence, it's 2 hours a month. Give it a try.
And AJ gives you a package.
Yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
do, but I actually kind of stopped doing that because honestly, y'all are just being there and hanging out with them and talking about what was on TV last night is making a huge impact.
It's the fastest 25 minutes. They watch and it's
Yeah.
over. It's over with.
Larry, you want to say anything about Edwards, Ingram, wherever we are? I get them mixed up.
Well, as far as Edwards is concerned, if John's not here, he's trying to set up, because I'm going to be away for the first couple weeks of October, he's going to set up our assembly for the second week in October. So there'll be a note going out about that. And while I'm up, I might as well talk about the membership stuff too. Things to keep in mind. We have a membership meeting right after this, so those on the membership committee, please stay after. We were going to meet at the Carolina Trades Country Club on the 27th of October and recruit as many former Rotarians that are out there and new folks that want to do something for the community. That's going to be a big turnout. I think we should have over 25 or 30 people that can come from that. And anybody that lives at Trades, make sure that you invite a couple of your friends to come with that. And the most exciting part about this is Roberto's coming back. Roberto's bank schedule has had him so busy in the last 6 months or so that he hasn't been able to make a commitment yet. But now the travel is such that you are going to be able to try to arrange to be around for the most part on Thursdays. And so we were talking about what's the best day for Roberto to join, and we thought the 27th might be the good time while we're out at Trace, and Trace is going to be joining as a corporate member. So Roberto's coming back to us on the 27th.
Thanks, Larry. Couple announcements. Yvonne's Family Rotary doubleheader event. List is still going around for tickets for that.
Yes. Would you like to go ahead and just tell everybody about it?
Sure, glad to.
Okay.
Since I've got it right here in front of me. Since I stole your thunder the first time it came out, why stop now, right? $25 get you tickets to go see Clemson and Wake Forest football game on November the 19th. And 2 tickets to see Duke and Wake in basketball on January 28th. Clemson's top 5 team in the country right now, probably will be then. Duke, well, you know, they're Duke. So you can't say a whole lot of positive things about it because I'm not a Duke fan. Anyway, they're good. They're good, and they, I mean, for $12.50, basically, you can't buy a ticket to a college event for that. So that list is going around. And speaking of basketball, I downloaded the schedule. Practice starts October 1st. So first game is November 11th in Annapolis. So if anyone's got, I'm good. So please feel free to.
What team is that?
Vanderbilt.
Who?
New coach.
Who? What was that?
Junior college out in Nashville. The Rotary RLI is coming up at the end of the month in Pinehurst. Still would like for people to go to that. I appreciate
I killed it with the butter.
David, Ed, and Larry going to the meetings for the Membership Foundation. Thank you so much for going to that. Yeah. Dinga, you went, Ed? Y'all went, and then I think Larry went to the one in Asheboro. Thank you for that. Did I mention we got a barbecue coming up?
No, not yet.
Well, we got one coming up, and Larry printed out a nice form. Here, I'm going to give everybody one. Just pass them out and kind of give you an idea of what we are trying to do this year. We're having it on Election Day, November 8th. Our main goal is to hit as many businesses as possible and sell as many tickets to them. Something we couldn't do last year on Saturday because most of them closed. So that's the main thing right now. We'll get more information on that as we go forward.
Hey, I'm gonna do the tickets. How many tickets do we want to print?
750.
I don't remember what we did last year.
Well, we
We
were
did
at
500.
500, but, you know, this could have a huge impact. And, you know, at the hospital, are you going to the hospital or you want me to? I think the hospital will come up with like 20, 25 easy.
They probably will, but you're gonna have to go through HR because there's no solicitation on policy in the hospital. They'll have to come,
Yeah.
but I don't know anybody in HR.
But you know, our church has done this now for the last couple of years. And we sold over 1,000 meals to the corporates. I think it was probably closer to 1,200. And that was around 20 to 25 customers did that many. So if you get out early enough and get to offices like Martin I,
Places like that.
Yeah. Or, there could be a chiropractic office.
We don't eat chicken. So that's the plan.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Andre.
We'll have some information on that. Janice, I have your pen that I finally got that you were supposed to get today that you bummed out a little early. So,
oh yeah.
Here is your Rising Star pen from District 76. So I did get an email from John about that, and they're expecting you and Van both to attend the district conference because they're going to probably honor y'all, recognize you down there too. So
Please make sure I know that in advance.
I will. It's April next year. So. Van, David.
One more,
Go ahead.
Rotary, the District Foundation banquet is Thursday, November 17th in Jonesboro in the evening. If you're interested in going, I've got a sign-up sheet. I'll bring it the next couple of weeks, but if you know you want to go already, come on over after the meeting, go ahead and put your name on it.
Van?
Yes, sir.
Would you like to,
Sergeant 96 today?
please, if you don't mind?
We have already recognized our guest, Roberto. Hopefully, he'll be coming back to join us on a regular basis here. I don't see any other guests except our speaker today. Does anybody have anything they want to, any other announcements? Yes, Yvonne.
This is the last weekend for Anything Goes, and they had a showing this morning for the high school, and then this afternoon, so Sunday, 2 o'clock showing's the last one. It's worth seeing.
And then Peggy, just outstanding. She really does a wonderful job. Yeah, I went and saw it last week. Really good play. You really enjoy it. A lot of fun. Very good, talented crew. Any other announcements? How about any brags? All right, Neil.
I don't know if you guys missed me the last few weeks, but my wife and I just returned from a 17-day river cruise from Bonn, Germany to Budapest, and streaming down the Rhine River and then through Danube Canal, down the Danube, and we had a fantastic time, except for the trip over and the trip back.
Tell us about what happened on the trip over and the trip back. What happened?
Oh, it just takes 32 hours.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Larry.
The first order came in for the barbecue, and it happens to be Martin I for 10 meals.
Wonderful. Any other brags? Jim.
I missed last week, but I did 3 supper box presentations, and Holly Springs gave me a banner to prove that I did it. And
Is this your makeup?
You're into me for almost $400. Keep up the big work, the great work. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Any other? Terry.
Terry.
Well, I got an opportunity to video Kendrick, to take a picture. I put it on the Hometown News, and the United Way, I must say, she's a very little shining star. And I really would like for everybody to get an autograph because she's going to Hollywood.
All right, any other brags? All right, here I got one. I made it through last weekend. I made it through my 60th birthday. Started out Wednesday night, got to camp out Wednesday night, stayed up way too late Wednesday night, way too late. Thursday, we drove up to Maggie Valley and did the Wheels Through Time Motorcycle Museum. If you get up to Maggie Valley, you gotta do it, man. It's something else, I'll tell you. It's described as the museum that runs, and it does. Let me tell you, it's cool. Then Friday we went to the car show. Then Saturday we went to another car show. Then Sunday back to the same car show. And that was my birthday. That was my neighbor that I always go with. See there, it was their anniversary. So we had a big whoop-de-doo time on Saturday night. Weather was pretty awesome, I'm telling you. I had way better than this week. So I had a wonderful 60th birthday and I made it home safely. We had one can of beer left when we got home. And that's about right. Seems to be a problem. I don't know. Hey, it wasn't one that I brought. It wasn't one that I brought. That's all I'm saying. But it was real nice. And I want to brag again to my father-in-law after 3 weeks. His stroke has improved quite a bit. Still have a problem with his legs, but other than that, he's doing really good. His mind's in good shape, and he's thinking again. And so I'm real proud of him. So, any other brags to come forward to club at this time? Back to you, President David. Thank you.
Thanks, man. And I'm glad that I didn't see you on TV in Charlotte the other night.
Yeah, my wife got the text. I said, I ain't even going close to that stuff. Let me tell you, I'm over here and they're over there. So now I don't.
Glad you made it back safe, son.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Today's speaker I'm excited about. Keith Parsons is a friend of mine. I've known Keith since he was a kid. He used to come to the store and buy sports equipment for me. And he's also the son of the late, great NASCAR driver, Benny Parsons, who is just, in January, is going to be inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Keith graduated from Elon in 1991. He worked with various newspapers until he landed a job with the Associated Press in 2000. First working out of the Atlanta Bureau before transferring to Raleigh in 2004. He served at the North Carolina sports editor for the AP until 2006. And then he got out of that and went back to the banking business in his hometown down in Rockingham, Illinois. He is currently branch manager for both the locations down there. I am honored and happy to introduce Mr. Keith Parsons.
Thank you guys for having me so much. Appreciate David's invite, and we tried to work it out where I could get earlier in the summer, and just all works good to work out. But glad I made it today. I will say the only 2 baseball bats I've ever purchased my entire life were from Dave and his family at Sports World. My dad used to, we were just talking earlier, he used to, when he got out of racing, he was doing radio and TV in NASCAR, and so he did a lot of walking. So about every 3 or 4 months, he'd have to go buy a new pair of Brooks running shoes from David. So know the family for a long time. My dad's going to be one of 5 people inducted into the NASCAR Hall of Fame in January when the induction is. The others joining him are Mark Martin, Rick Hendrick, Richard Childress, and a guy named Raymond Parks. And Raymond Parks is not really a name that probably not of you guys know if you're even a NASCAR fan, but he was the car owner for the first NASCAR champion ever back in 1949. I'll go ahead and tell you, sometimes during my little spiel today, I'll refer to my dad as my dad, or sometimes I'll call him BP, because it was what I called him, what everybody called him, by his initials, so that BP is my dad, Benny Parsons. I didn't really know what to tell you about his career, so I figured I'd kind of tell you about how he got started. It's a really neat story, I think. A lot of people don't know it. But he was born in Wilkes County, North Carolina in 1941, rural area, rural North Carolina. Like a lot of people who grew up in rural North Carolina at that time, grew up without any electricity, no running water, stuff like that. When he was about 5 years old, his parents were looking for work, so they left Wilkes County and went to Detroit. Actually went to Baltimore, Maryland first, then on to Detroit, and left my dad with his paternal great-grandmother. And just to give you a little perspective, this would have been about 1946 or so. the lady that raised him, her name was Julia Parsons, or they called her Mama Julie. She was born in 1872, 7 years after the Civil War ended, and as my dad always told me, 4 years before Custer's last stand, a little bit. And that's the lady that raised my dad. She used to, when he was a kid, you know, they had to have a wood stove to do any cooking and stuff. And so whenever she would work out in the yard, she would take my dad outside and tie him to a tree with a rope. In case the house caught on fire, she wanted to know exactly where he was. I mean, it was just those two. So he stayed in Wilkes County with his great-grandmother until he graduated high school there, and then left there to go join his parents in Detroit, where my grandfather had a gas station and a taxi cab company. If anybody knows anything about my dad's career, he was always called the taxi cab driver from Detroit. That's where this came from. He was mostly a mechanic that worked on repairing the cabs and stuff like that, but he did occasionally, you know, run a route just to make some extra money from time to time. In 1960, he was there at the gas station one day, and these guys pulled up with a race car on a trailer to get some gas, and he asked them where they were going, and they said, we were going to Flat Rock Speedway, which is just outside of Detroit. And they asked him the question, as he always said, that changed the rest of his life. They said, you want to go with us tonight? And he went, and again, as he always put it, he never stopped going to the racetrack after that. Wasn't too long before somebody asked him if he wanted to drive, so he started driving, got his own car. He started winning races here or there, mostly dirt tracks around Detroit, Michigan, places like that. This was in the 60s, which I don't remember, a little before my time, but this is when the car manufacturers were really big into auto racing. You know, NASCAR was down south, ARCA, which was a series in the Midwest, was huge, and so Ford, Chevrolet, they were really big into racing. So Ford said, we need to find a good young driver that we're going to promote, give a good ride. We want to get an unknown guy. So they invited my dad and another driver down to Asheville Speedway in 1964, kind of a tryout. It was a big time Grand National race. You know, Ned Jarrett was there, Richard Petty, all the big drivers of the time. And my dad, it was the first race he'd ever raced on pavement. He'd always only raced on dirt. And he didn't have a lot of success. I think he qualified about 8th, but had trouble in the race and dropped out. And so after the race, the guys from Ford said, hey, you know, appreciate you coming, but the other guy was a lot better than you, so we're going to take him. The other driver was a guy named Kel Yarber, some of the guys I had heard of. So Kel got to ride with Home and Moody. But my dad went back to Detroit, joined the ARCA circuit, was Rookie of the Year in 1965. Then in 1968-69, he was fortunate enough to win the championship both years. At this time, he was getting a lot of support from Ford. In fact, in the winter of '68, they said he could go down to Home and Moody. They'd give him a brand new race car. So he drives all the way from Detroit to Charlotte to pick up the car. And because of insurance purposes, they had to sell it to him. So they sold it to him for $1. It's a brand new race car, but it was in pieces. And he had to go back to Detroit and put it together. But they did, and he made it to Daytona and won the race at Daytona, the ARCA race at Daytona. Did that 68-69, was planning on doing it again in 1970, but that's when the manufacturer started pulling out of racing. So his contact with Ford said, hey, we're not going to be able to give you much help this year. I don't know what you're going to do with racing. He didn't know if he could do it without their help. He kind of asked somebody for advice, and they said, well, there's a car over there in the NASCAR garage, LG DeWitt Racing, based in Ellerbe, North Carolina, that their driver just got hurt at Riverside last week, a guy named Buddy Young. He was hurt pretty badly in an accident. I don't think they have a driver. Why don't you go talk to them? My dad went and talked to the crew chief, a guy named John Hill, and John said, no, I think Buddy's going to be okay. We've got somebody driving here at Daytona. We think Buddy's going to be fine, but appreciate it. So my dad, okay. So he left Daytona, driving back to Michigan, stopped off in Wilkes County to see some family and friends. And when he got there, he was visiting his uncles, had a barbershop in Wilkes County, and the phone rang, and it was Junior Johnson. I don't know if you guys know that name, Junior Johnson. He said, hey, John Hill from down in Ellerbe at LG DeWitt is looking for you. You need to call him. So he called him. Turns out Buddy was not going to be ready for the next week. So they said, well, you go to Richmond and drive for us. Sure. He said, I don't know how long it's going to be. When Buddy's ready, he's going to take over, but you know, for now you can drive. Well, my dad ended up driving for them for 9 years. Buddy never came back, unfortunately, never raced again. So my family moved. I was born in July of '69 in Detroit. We moved to Ellerbe, which you guys may know where that is, a small town about an hour or so south of here, in March of 1970. And that's when my dad did his racing. In 1971, he was fortunate enough to get his first NASCAR victory, and it was really important to my brother, who was 4 years older than me. So he remembered my dad being such a big deal in ARCA, you know, winning a lot of races, winning championships, and to this point, my dad had not been able to win any. So my brother was always after him, hey, let's move back to Detroit. Let's go run ARCA, forget NASCAR. You're not any good in NASCAR. So my dad wins his first race in South Boston. It was Mother's Day, 1971. And we were not there. We were visiting my mom's family. And so my dad gets on the phone and calls us, and he gets my brother on the phone and said, Kevin, guess what? I won today. And my brother said, you won? He said, yeah, I sure did. There was silence, and my brother said, was Richard Petty there? And my dad said, absolutely, he finished second. So, then in 1973, some of you guys, Dave, you might remember this, he won the championship, the NASCAR championship, the last race that he was at Rockingham, which is down where LG DeWitt Racing's from. They had a really convoluted point system that year, and I'm not a mathematician, so I don't really understand it, but basically, you got so many points for where you finished, and you got so many points per lap. It was the way NASCAR made guys come to the racetrack every week. The more races you ran, the more points you got because the more laps you made. So anyway, he went to the last race, leading the points over Richard and Cale Yarborough. Really no clue what he had to do to hold on to the championship, but just knew he had to finish. On the 13th lap, he's in a wreck, and the guy spun out in front of him, and he hit him kind of right with his right front on the bumper. And this is 1973, so all the cars had those old steel bumpers on them. And it completely ripped the right side off of his race car, including all the roll cage and everything. I mean, that never happened. They had every part in the garage to repair except the roll cage. He thought it was done, and there's nothing they could do. Well, it was an old car, or somebody's race car was sitting in the garage. They had not qualified for the race. For some reason, to this dying day, he never knew why that car was still sitting there. And somebody said, hey, we talked to them, you can take whatever you need off of that car. I don't know if that was true or not, but they ended up taking the roll bar and everything out. And welded it into my dad, into his car. About 90 minutes later, he went back out, made enough laps to win the race. So it was kind of incredible, small town team, underdog, beat a team like Richard and Cale. I mean, it was amazing. The next year, though, was probably his worst year in racing, 1974. Didn't win any races, didn't do anything really positive, and he got really down. I mean, it's amazing for me to think that he goes from winning the championship in 73 to 1974, he was ready to quit at the end of the year because he didn't think he could do it anymore. He even talked to a guy named Ken Squire, which if you guys follow racing, you know that name. He was a famous commentator for CBS and others. Ken had just started a radio network called Motor Racing Network that was covering races. My dad went to him and said, Ken, do you think you got a job for me? I don't think I'm coming out to be a race car driver. And Ken said, you know, you're crazy. You just won the championship. Just give it another year. Give it another couple of years. So, okay, fine. So he goes to Daytona the next year, started 75. And late in the race, he's running second behind David Pearson, but he can't catch up. Pearson's maybe 3 or 4 seconds ahead of him. Well, Richard Petty, who was probably no really good friend of David Pearson at the time, that was when they were having their rival. He had problems in that race, but he was back on the track. So he waits on my dad and lets him latch on in the draft, which you guys probably know enough about racing, know 2 cars are faster than 1. He kind of waved at my dad and said, let's go. So they got together, so they're running down Pearson. The laps are dwindling down. They're catching him, and then Pearson ends up running into a lap car going lap and spun out with 2 laps to go. My dad took the lead and won under caution to win the 75 Daytona 500. Pretty much after that, his career was set. He stayed with LG DeWitt through 78. They lost their sponsor there, so he drove for other teams after that. Some of his highlights later in his career, he won the 1980 World 600. His last official win came in Atlanta in 1984. He retired in 1988 and immediately joined ESPN, ABC to do their commentary on races. And then when they lost their contract, he joined NBC and Turner in 2001. So obviously I think he did enough in his career to get a Hall of Fame legacy, but I think what people have asked me since he got in the Hall of Fame, you know, would your dad be, you know, how happy would he be? And I think he'd be very happy he's in the Hall of Fame, but I think I heard him say one time in an interview that all he wanted people to remember about racing was that he made the sport better in some way. He did things to make the sport better. And I think he did stuff like that through his whole career. Some of you guys that have been in Sanford for a long time might know the name J.D. McDuffie. Oh, yeah. J.D. was the guy that raced here, independent driver, low buck operation. When my dad was at LG DeWitt in Elby, he used to trade parts with J.D. He used to try to help him all he could because J.D. always, could use a little extra help. Yeah. Mark Martin, who's going to the Hall of Fame with my dad, he's been very kind to remember Mark and his dad coming to meet BP back in the late 70s. when Mark was just getting started. They drove all the way to Ellerby from Arkansas to say, hey, what does my son need to do to be a NASCAR driver? And my dad offered advice, and Mark's been great to remember that. Bill Elliott, another guy that's in the Hall of Fame, he had his family-owned team in the, I guess, early 80s. My dad had a sponsor milling oil pumps that was coming out with a new product, and the owner was like, the owner of the business said, I want to sponsor their car, but I don't have a lot of money. Who should I give it to? And my dad said, well, Bill Elliott, those guys do a good job. So he got Bill Elliott hooked up with this guy, you know, I think 8 years later, he won the championship. So, and then most recently, another current driver, a guy named Greg Biffle, my dad kind of noticed him out at what they call Winter Heat. It was a series they ran the ESPN show out in Tucson, Arizona. And my dad mentioned his name to Jack Roush, and Biffle's been in NASCAR for about 10 years now. So I think he left his legacy with all those people and others. Again, David might remember this. This is not racing, but about 1977, my dad, he always told the story, it made me feel really bad, but on Christmas Day, he noticed my brother and I were opening our presents, and we would open one present and look at it and say, oh, that's really cool, and then immediately move on to the next one. And he just started thinking about how many people maybe in our little small town did not have anything on Christmas. So he and my mom, along with the Civitans in Ellerby, started a party for underprivileged kids, Christmas party that they did until my mom died in 1991. And I still, every day in Richmond County, have somebody come up to me almost and say, hey, I was one of those kids that your dad gave a Christmas present to, and it's pretty neat. So yeah, I'm happy he's in the Hall, but honestly, he's always been a Hall of Famer in my eyes, and just glad that everybody gets to recognize him now and get to tell these stories.
Nice.
Appreciate it. I'll take any questions if you guys have any racing questions or otherwise. Be happy to answer.
I had a question.
Okay.
How much did he win in '75? And then, how much did he give Richard Petty?
I don't think he gave Richard anything. He won $45,000 on the race, and but no, I don't think he gave Richard.
Nice.
Richard was good as a friend. They were friendly. It was a neat story with Richard. You know, I don't know if you guys, anybody watches NASCAR these days, but anytime two drivers seem to get into a little quarrel on a racetrack, they throw their helmet at each other, they fight, they call each other's names. I remember Richard spinning out my dad at Richmond in 1981, just one of those racing things where they got together. And after the race, they were walking down Pier Road. My dad was walking with kind of a group of about maybe 10 fans around him signing autographs, and I happened to be there. And of course, Richard was coming with a group of about 100 fans the other way. But they're walking like this, these two masses of people, and I hear Richard saying, Benny, well, my dad's talking to somebody, and so, hey, you know, Richard needs something. And he reaches, you know, Richard Petty's about 6'2" or 6'3" with like arms down to his ankles, and he reaches his arm over and says, man, I'm really sorry I spun you out or whatever. My dad said, no problem, nothing. I mean, I just wish they had more of that these days. I mean, that's how they kind of were. Yes, sir.
Rockingham track, is it ever going to come back, you think?
I mean, I don't know. I don't know the guy that owns it now. I've never met him, but you would think it's a very specialty property. I mean, you know,
It's got so much potential.
It does.
Just sitting out there.
I know it's one of those things. I knew the previous owner really well, and you know, we would talk, and it's just one of those deals where if you don't have a big time NASCAR race, it's almost impossible to make any money. I mean, because you have to. I mean, the tax value of that property is $4 million, so you're paying whatever you got to pay in yearly taxes, and it's just hard to do it with kind of one or two big races a year. So yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, basically, you got to be independently wealthy to do it, and I think this guy is. So it's just a matter of can we get it back. A guy named Silas, Brian Silas from down in Florida. He bought it at auction. He actually, well, he was the original. He was one of the original owners. He was with Andy.
Right.
Yeah, and then they got foreclosed on by the bank, and then the bank auctioned it, and then the other guy bought it from the bank. So he owns it now fully. I don't know what he's going to do with it.
Does NASCAR still have the following that it did when it was basically a Southern racing? I know it's a national brand now, but it seems to me like when I see all this, and it kind of left the South, and it doesn't seem as attractive to me. Is that?
I think that's very accurate. I think it probably has more fans overall, but its core fans are not as. There's a guy that I know in Rockingham, Cullen Griffin. You know Cullen Griffin? Rockingham used to be a pharmacist. Anyway, the guy I know in Rockingham that in 1967 he and his wife went to 28 NASCAR races. I mean, he moved to Rockingham for NASCAR. Now, I don't know if there's anybody out there like that, and certainly he's an extreme case, but I mean, there used to be people that would go, because back in the day, you could go to 2 races at Rockingham, 2 races at North Wilkesboro, 2 races at Charlotte. Now it is spread out, like I said, national. So I think you probably have more fans overall, but their core fans are way down, for
You
sure.
could go from Rockingham to Darlington to Wilkesboro to Martinsville.
Martinsville, Charlotte.
Yeah, just, and get 10 races
Yeah,
there.
that's right. There's nothing.
2 hours max,
Yeah.
right?
That's right. That's right. Anybody else? Let me get sir.
Did your father ever talk about when the Allison brothers and Kelly Arbor got his plane?
In fact, he did. He was in that race. He had cracked a cylinder head earlier in the race. His car did, so he had to pit about every 15 laps to have water. But when it got down to it, he, I guess, was kind of running slow when he saw Donnie and Kale pass him. And he knew there was 5 laps to go. He said, I'm going to keep up with them because I'm going to watch the red. Because he just knew they were probably going to red.
Right.
So he was right behind them when they red. Now, after that, yeah, the aftermath, I don't think anybody expected Bobby to pull over and kind of help his brother, and they kind of teamed up on Kale a little bit. But I get one of those things where I'll never forget, the next week, the race was at Rockingham, and Kale and Donnie were buddies again. I mean, you know, it's just one of those, you know, things, Daytona 500, you know, Kale had won it before, Donnie had not, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, probably made NASCAR more money over the years than about anything else that ever happened, you know. If you guys don't remember that, that was 1979 Daytona 500, was the first race ever, first full 500-mile race ever shown on live network TV for NASCAR. CBS showed it. Also happened to be the weekend of a huge winter storm on the East Coast. So I know even in Rockingham and in Richmond County, we were out of school all week. And so people were just trapped at home and and nothing really to watch other than these guys fighting in the infield. It was great.
Other than your father, who's your favorite NASCAR racer?
I mean, it's hard to go against Richard Petty just because he's, you know, that race that I was just talking about, the 79 Daytona 500, Richard won that race. And he had not won it all in 1978. It really struggled. And people said, gosh, is Richard done? And I happened to be down. It was the first time I ever went to Daytona 500. We were down there, and my dad had trouble, so I think I was even like sleeping in the car or something, trying to make the race and get over. And when Donnie and Kale crashed on the last lap, Richard took the lead. And my mom came and shook me awake and said, Richard's going to win. I mean, we were, everybody was happy. I mean, you know, it's so amazing the success that guy had. I don't know that anybody ever really disliked him, you know, because he was such a good guy, great with fans, and they knew that he was so popular, he helped put money in the pocket too, you know. It was different. So yeah, I would probably say Richard, for sure.
Did you ever know the name of Johnny Bird?
Johnny Bird, that name does sound familiar. What was?
He was with J.D. Duffy. He was watching.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He was wanting to move the weights around on the cars when they were coming.
Oh, okay. I knew that name. Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I ever saw him.
The cars were actually flipping.
Yeah,
He just wanted JD's car stayed down on the ground. And they pulled JD into the pit real quick and asked him what was going on. They saw that the weights were changed a little bit. So
Yeah.
Johnny had to work on every car that night.
Oh, really? They get fixed?
Oh,
yeah.
all fixed.
That's amazing. Yeah, JD was amazing. Unfortunately, my dad happened to be at the race where JD crashed and got killed, and was actually standing down in the corner where he crashed. And that was, my mom had just died in June of that year, and that was August. And I remember all these people telling my dad that, you know, that really the only person that could talk to Jean and maybe help her, you know, JD's wife, was my mom, but she just passed away in June, so I didn't get the chance. Anybody else? Well, thank you guys again.
Thanks, Keith. By the way, when he was working in Atlanta, he cut the braids.
Oh, really?
So that was, talk to my own.
Yeah.
He and Chipper Jones were pretty tight there for a while. So.
I will tell you a story about Chipper Jones. You guys probably know Chipper Jones, a great player. I had just made a trip to Rockingham to visit my brother, and David and his business, they were celebrating 20 years. 20 years, and they made us these hats. He gave me one of these hats, and so I would wear it to Braves game and cover it. And Chipper Jones, the first time he saw me, he said, man, I like the hat, where'd you get that? So a friend of mine back home has a business. He said, you think you can get me one? I took an act of Congress to get this one. I'm sorry. It's just, but he loved that hat.
Chipper Jones a hat?
Dave, here's another order.
Thank you. Who is Yvonne? Are you doing it today?
I'm doing it.
Hot dog.
There's $38 to the winner, and I need a winner. If you pick a winner.
Sure. I'll pull out the winner for you.
And read out the
4261.
$38.
Berkeley, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Got to the
Look forward to seeing you on the 27th. Hope you'll be permanent with us. Keith, again, thank you so much for coming and sharing that. You guys, you know, back in the day, when races would come into town to Rockingham, it brought a lot of people down there. And it just was interesting how that town just went from about, what, 8,000-9,000 to about 15,000 for the weekend. They'd all camp out there at track. They'd come into town to eat, do all kinds of stuff. So you really did hurt and that left. So. All right. Smart, would you like to lead us in the 4-way test?
Will never anxious, will be